girls of the future, the girls, the mothers of our next generation, the leaders of our future, are growing up stronger than and with better support than maybe we did.
Hi, everybody. This is Elle Ballard on the Empowered Global Women in Business podcast with my guest here today, all the way from the UK. Hi, Kim. Welcome.
Thank you.
Kim McCabe is an author of From Daughter to Woman, Parenting Girls Safely Through Their Teens, child expert interviewed on the BBC and Sky News, parent coach, and founder of Rites for Girls CIC, which offers training to women to run girl groups across the world. Kim sets out to remind parents and especially mothers that they hold the key to making a girl's journey through adolescence safer, kinder, and better supported. Women who train at Rights for Girls become the women they needed in their life when they were growing up. Welcome, Kim. So wonderful. I'm so excited for this conversation. As a mother myself, having two girls as well, there is there is never enough information and learning, right? Being a mother. So I'm just really excited and in talking to you today and welcome again. What brought you to doing this work? What sparked this in you? Why did you start doing this kind of work?
I had to do it. I had to. I didn't find growing up very easy. I did go on to Cambridge University and studied child psychology and trained to be a counsellor for disturbed teenagers. But it was actually in my work with adults. I worked with managers, entrepreneurs, women returners to work. And what I noticed is that what held them back in life, in their adult life, often took root in their childhood. So I wanted to work
Mm,
preventatively. I wanted to put in place what our children need before they realized they didn't have it. So I founded Rights for Girls, which is a non-profit, back in 2011. We run groups for girls, supporting them as they make that transition from primary to secondary school, and also coincides with them entering puberty, going through adolescence. We have an in-person program and an online program. And it's really what we do is we train women to run these groups so that the girls of the future, the girls, the mothers of our next generation, the leaders of our future are growing up stronger than and with better support than maybe we did.
you mentioned briefly that everything starts in the childhood, what we experience in adulthood. My first question would be going back to, or I guess it's connecting to the childhood programming too, right? So, how do we as adults, having this mind blocks and inner critics, how do we silence that inner critic and truly follow our heart?
Yeah, so lots of people want to silence their inner critic. I'd love to silence my inner critic. She often tells me things that just hold me back, stop me from daring to do things, make me doubt myself. But actually, rather than silencing her, what I've learned is actually to embrace that voice, to recognize that my inner critic is just doing a really important job. She's trying to keep me safe. Now, the trouble is that she's often doing it in the same way as she needed to do it when I was little. So perhaps a bit
Mm.
out of date, because now I'm a grown woman and I have lots of resources and tools that I didn't have when I was little. So I can actually dare to do a whole lot of stuff, which actually there's the little voice inside of me who kind of goes, "Oh, but you might mess up. You might make a mistake. You might make a fool of yourself. You can't do that. You don't have the skills. Do you really have the experience?" All of those things, which are actually can be experienced as really limiting voices from within
Mm.
ourselves, are actually really caring voices. So, as an
Mm.
adult now, when we train women, because of course, what we're doing is we're training women to be able to run groups of girls. And that takes really
Mhm.
stepping into your own authority, being able to believe that you have something really rich and precious and valuable to offer the girls, and also having the confidence in yourself to be able to deliver a year-long program. So we work
Yeah.
with women to enable them to to step into their own authority. And what that means is not silencing the inner critic, but it is kind of reaching an arm out, wrapping them in, pulling them in, and kind of going, take your sticky hands off the steering wheel. I'm in charge, but hey, listen, you've got some important information for me. You're trying to keep me safe. Thank you. Let me just check out these worries that you have. And rather than just batting them away or denying them, say, yeah, hang on a minute. Do I have all the experience I need? If not, where could I upskill myself? Do I have all the support I need to get so that I can do my best job? If not, where do I find myself the support? What if I make a mistake? What resources do I have within myself to repair that mistake and learn by it? So that inner critic voice is actually our friend. Trouble is that we don't often behave as if that voice is our friend, and we are often very diminished by it. I think many people, women more than men typically, are limited and diminished, and we're frightened of our light. We're frightened of our power and what we could really do if
Yes.
we just dared to do it. And that voice can actually keep us small.
Mm-hmm. Beautifully said. I love that. Thank you. So what we should do is really, we hear you, right? If I were talking back to that voice that's giving me, criticizing my thoughts or anything I'm doing, I should respond. I hear you. I hear your message. I receive that, but I no longer want to listen, or, I'm going to still pursue what I'm doing, right?
Yeah,
And
absolutely. I mean, first of all, let's thank you. Thank you for looking out for me.
thank you. Yeah.
I hear you. You have got some important information for me. I'm going to take heed. I'm going to think, okay, so what can I do about whatever it is that I'm being kind of worrying about or feeling I'm not good enough or I'm not clever enough or I haven't got enough of something and kind of go, okay, so how do I get more of what I need? Or
Yeah.
perhaps to kind of think, well, do you know what? Actually, I do think I'm ready for this. And particularly if I maybe pull in the expertise of some other people who've gone before me, or even just people who've got my back, my friends, my family. I can do this. I'm good. So it sometimes takes reassuring it at that part of ourselves, which is often quite a childlike part, which is full of worries and fears and disbelief about ourselves, and kind of go, no, listen, I'm going to do this anyway, but thank you for that information. I'm going to take care of that aspect of it. Um, but I'm in charge. I'm the one making the decisions here. So yes, that's important, but actually, I'm going to do this because this is where my heart is pulling me. And that's where that heart part comes, is if when we follow our heart, it really that actually is quite energizing and motivating and helps us to get over those road bumps of those. We all have imposter syndrome. We all have times when we think, who am I to do this? But the thing is if not me, then who?
Yeah. Yeah. Beautiful. Beautiful. Thank you for that. And thank you really, for diving into it, because I think, as you said, when we hear those voices, they can stop us and then we can follow it without even us realizing, because it's such a habit from the childhood, right? Something stopping us that we're thinking it's protecting us or whatever. And then we're not pursuing that we should be. So it's such a great reminder. And I'm guessing once we do it one time or two times, we're getting used to that, right? And then that will be hopefully easier the next time the voice comes up.
Definitely. And sometimes, um, actually making a mistake and messing up, the thing that we fear the most, when that
Yeah,
happens, actually we kind of think, well, I survived. And in fact, I learned something really important. We cannot learn without being willing to make mistakes. We cannot actually grow and develop if we're trying to be perfect all of the time. Because if we're trying to be perfect, we will not risk certain things. We
yeah,
won't try because we don't want to mess up. So,
yeah,
actually, sometimes making a big mistake, realizing that you've got friends and colleagues around you who can kind of help you pick yourself up and dust yourself off and kind of take a different tack and give it another go. That's actually empowering and strengthening, but actually only if we dare we dare in the first place.
I want to dive deep into what kind of support the that community provides. What do you guys do? How that's done? Is it open globally online? Does it have online access? Global, we have women from all over the world on this podcast, so I wanted to make sure we covered that as well.
Yes, of course. So Rights for Girls is spelt RITES.
Mhm.
So that's alluding to rites of passage, coming of age, because of all the rites of passage, it's the one that we've lost. So we still welcome a baby when it's born. We celebrate when two adults decide to join together there in the middle of their lives, and we mark it when someone comes to the end of their life, and we celebrate them. But the rite of passage that used to be given the most time of attention was the puberty rite or the coming of age rite of passage, and whilst there are remnants of it in some religions, we've kind of lost that one. And yet it was the one that was seen to be the most important in terms of both the health and well-being of our young people as they grow up and become young adults, but also the health and well-being of our society. It was recognized that we need really well-resourced, well-grounded, well-supported young people to grow up and become our future. So rites of passage is about preparing our young people for growing up. And we do that in two ways. We have an in-person program for girls who are 10, 11, 12 years old, and we support them over a year. We meet monthly for a year, so they get to feel what monthly feels like. We teach them everything they need to know about what's changing in their bodies and in their hearts and minds. But we also give them a place where they don't have to change anything about themselves to fit in because they belong already. And many girls don't have that
Mm.
anywhere else in their lives. So they make friends for life. And we support the mothers at the same time. The mothers will meet at the same time. Um, we also have an online program, and that was born during the pandemic. We didn't jump straight onto working online in the pandemic because what we heard from the girls we were working with is they were had enough. They were saturated with online offerings because school went online and their social life went online.
Yeah, it's true.
But I
Hmm.
have to say that since all that time of lockdown, we're seeing a very serious and concerning
Mm.
increase in anxiety in our young children,
Yes.
boys and girls, but particularly girls. So then we created our online program, Girls Net, which is a 6-week program where we work with the girls on a weekly basis, just resourcing them from the inside, giving them the tools that they need to deal with challenge and change, but also helping them to recognize what help they have outside of them. So those are the two programs. And what we do is we train women to run those programs. And yes, we do train women from all across the world. Of course, the in-person program working with girls, the training is in person, and that's a 2-year training. We do have women from all across the world, from America, from Russia, from across Europe, from Hong Kong, from Bali, come fly to England and train with us. But much easier actually is our online training. So for the online program, the GirlsNet program, the training is 6 months online, and that's all online. And then that can be offered on obviously anywhere in the world.
Mm, beautiful. I love that. Yes, and thank you for doing this work. So needed. Just like you mentioned, seeing definitely, well, I have two daughters, like I mentioned as well, and it's almost like a little bit for them, it's harder. Well, maybe not harder than it was for us, but
It is
this whole
harder.
pandemic, it is harder, right? Yeah, and during pandemic, I remember, someone said it was easier for the little kids during pandemic, but harder on parents. And for the older kids, it was harder on kids, but easier on parents. And I've seen that with my daughter, where she had to, get locked, and you cannot do anything, you cannot go anywhere, you cannot see your friends. Um, and post pandemic, like you said, yeah, this anxiety issues and everything. So
That's
thank
what
you
we're
for
really
doing.
seeing now is the repercussions, and actually it is harder for our young people growing up now than I've worked with hundreds of thousands of girls over the years, and whilst there's a lot more information about mental well-being and parenting, girls and boys, what I'm seeing is much greater academic pressure on our children than when we were growing up. They're worrying
Mhm.
about their financial future in a way that I didn't even think about it. Because of the financial pressures, often children have both parents working full time. So often you've got parents around less to support children as they're going through, particularly as they're going through adolescence. And then we have social media, which isn't all bad, but it's actually a huge pressure on our children, which is really messing with their sense of who they are. It's messing with their
Yeah,
relationships. It's putting real pressure on them to compare themselves and each other with impossible ideals. So, and to be constantly available. So, whilst I don't think social media is all a bad thing, we're not yet supporting our young people well enough to mean that it's not having a massive impact on them. So, actually, when you asked me right at the start, why was Rights for Girls born? I think another major thing was I have three children, two boys and a girl. And it was when I gave birth to our third child, a little girl, and I remember looking down at her and suddenly kind of going, I have to change the world. I have to make it different for her growing up than it
oh,
was. And that was, I mean, she's 19 now. And what I'm seeing in the young girls now is that there's even greater anxiety and depression. Elle, in the America and in England, 1 in 4 of our 14-year-old girls is self-harming. That's 1 in 4. That's hundreds of thousands of girls who are not able to cope, and their way of coping is to not eat enough, or to cut themselves, or to
yes.
take drugs, or drink, or have sex that they don't want to have. We have to do something about this, and we really can. The women that we train, they become the women that they wish they'd have in their lives when they were little. And those women then are in a really good position to support the next generation. But it doesn't have to just be the women that we train. All women, we can all guide the girls and the boys that we come into contact with. We can all just take a little bit of time to notice how they are, to ask them how they are. Not in a big, deep, and heavy, meaningful way, but just to kind of give them a sense that we care and we notice. And then us women, hey, we can be good adverts for womanhood. We can show them the way.
Yes, yes. Oh, yes. I love that. Thank you for sharing that. And so, just want to let our listeners know that we will post information on how to connect with Kim, to learn more about this program. If something interested you right now in this conversation, please, please, please connect with Kim. Like she said, she offers certifications and everything. And even if, or maybe just for your kids, for your own kids, if you have kids, girls who you think might be benefiting from something like this, absolutely, absolutely connect them. I'm going to be checking that out as well. Um, I love that. So thank you for doing this work, and how amazing. And I feel like hear your passion. I see, I feel it. I hear it. And how amazing that you actually had that voice and sort of when your daughter was born right there and then you knew. Beautiful. I love that. So I want to transition a little bit more towards you building it as your own platform. So your daughter was born and you had this vision, you had this voice, I've got to do this, right? And that was just an idea, just a concept. Now from there you have to actually take action to build it all and to create this platform and everything that goes with it, and then of course maintaining it day to day, from everything that you're doing, and now providing certifications, providing the course materials. um, we are an Empowered Global Women in Business podcast, and I want to share with our listeners some of the lessons, and maybe one big lesson that comes to mind, that you learned in building, and following your heart, your own passion, and building this movement.
Start small. It can be easy. My first group was in my front room. I just invited some girls to come to my sitting room and met with them every month and taught them what I thought they needed to know at that stage in their lives. It doesn't have to be you don't have to kind of overwhelm yourself with all that
Right.
need to do. Just start where you feel most confident and most sure, and then gather good women around you. So, to begin with, I just ran one group and then I ran two, and then word started to get about. And I actually have people traveling a whole day once a month to come to my groups. It's once people know what we're doing and they get a sense of what it is, it will sell itself. My passion is with the girls and the mothers and then the women that we train. I'm not a salesperson, but when you do good work, let the people who you've worked with sell it for you. Get them to talk about what you do so that you don't feel you have to have every aspect of business covered. And if there's an area that you don't feel so strong on, there are no prizes for coping on your own. Pull someone else in, partner up with people. There will be people who really love your idea, but maybe they don't do what you do. They do something else, and together you can make something bigger. So now we have a network across the world. That's something else, is that the women who we have hundreds of women who've trained with us, and we have a staff team. And what people all say is that how lovely it is not to be working alone, to be supporting girls and training women from a strong base of circles of women across the world, not to try and do something on our own, not to feel like we have to have all of the answers or all of the resources, because actually there'll be other women out there who have some of those resources or ideas or suggestions that we don't have. And that's been a big thing for me, actually, because as a founder director, it was my dream. First of all, it was my vision. And I held on to that quite tightly. It was hard for me to let other people in, for me to trust that other people could carry this with the same
Mm,
quality of care and attention. Um, but do you know what? The kind of women who are attracted to this work, I am so blessed. I am surrounded by the most incredible women. None of them are like me. They're all really different, but they all bring their strengths, their talents, their skills to this work, and I get to spend my days with them. I get to be working alongside them. So it's a privilege. It's a real privilege to be doing the work that I do, but not to be doing it on my own.
I love that. I love that you followed your passion, your heart, in doing this work, in changing the world and future generations. Ah, beautiful. I love that. So, yeah, thank you for sharing because I think starting small and it's easy to get overwhelmed, especially when we have this dreams and goals, inspirations. It's easy to get, oh yes, 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 and we get excited. And yeah, so starting small and then building it, it's such a, it's a simple concept, but so needed. So thank you
It's
for that
just
reminder.
growing in a feminine way. It's
Yeah.
growing organically. It's growing in a sort of sense and respond. Sort of try it this way. How does that go? Yes, let's do more of that. Oh, that didn't really work. It's I've always looking for feminine ways to run
Mm,
my business, to manage my business, to grow my business. And actually, I don't have lots of spreadsheets and strategic 5-year plans. And yes, I've written a book. Yes, we have a website. Yes, I run a training parents program. Yes, we run girls groups, but not all at once. It started really small. My book came from me writing the odd article here and there. The whole website has just grown gradually over time. It's like things don't have to start out in the way that you envision them to be. Just hold on to that vision, though. Don't let anybody dilute you. Don't let anyone tell you that you can't do it and it can't be done, because it's incredible. I could never have imagined we would be where we're at now. And it's because of all the people that have come forward and have got involved.
thank you. Kim, so I want to move us on to the next question that I absolutely love asking because we have interviewed so far women from over 15 countries on our Empowered Global Women in Business podcast. And that is something that talks to my heart. That's a passion that I carry. I just love connecting women from all over the world because they are all so beautiful and wonderful, just like yourself, and bringing their own perspective to the world and passions and changing the world in their own ways. What does it mean for you to be a woman of the world?
Well, I immediately think to my ancestors. So I come from many countries. When I go back and I think of my grandmothers and my great grandmothers, I come from Italy, I come from Nigeria, I come from Ireland, I come from England, I come from so many places. And I feel there's so much that I can learn from the women who come and join us at Rights for Girls. They bring their culture, they bring their knowing, they bring the wisdom of all the women that come before them. And we feed that all into the work that we do with the girls so that the girls, we live in a multicultural country, and it's really important that each girl feels like she has a place and a space in the group, just exactly
Yeah.
as she is. She does not have to change herself to fit the dominant culture. Far more important is she finds out what is uniquely her, what makes her herself, and then to celebrate that and to feel that she can find her place and belong in the group. So the same way as we want the women to feel a sense of belonging wherever they are from in the world, and that we learn so much from each other. So it's when we have the courage, when I have the courage to ask the difficult questions like, why is it different for you? Why do you think that way? Why are you doing that? Where have you learnt that from? That's when I'm really enriched.
Beautiful. Thank you. All right. So now we're going to move on to the final part of our conversation today. Rapid fire questions. Before we do that, I just want to remind our listeners that we are posting links to how to connect with Kim, to the website and everything. And so this has been such a beautiful conversation. So connect with her. You'll be able to do that either through our YouTube channel or our podcast directly. All right. So I have 5 questions that I will ask you, and let me know when you're ready.
I'm as ready as I'll ever be.
Okay, my first question is your favorite book name is.
From Daughter to Woman, parenting girls safely through their teens. Because I wrote it. But actually, no, seriously, it's because what it contains is all the things that the hundreds of girls I've worked with have taught me
Mm,
they need from us women. So it's really their voices that are in that book that I hold dear to my heart.
beautiful. Beach or mountains?
Or beach.
Favorite international destination to visit?
Oh, that's hard. Um, I think I would have to say Waiheke Island in New Zealand.
Mm,
It's
mhm,
where I met my
mm.
husband.
Oh, New Zealand is on my list to visit.
Mm.
Have never been. Summer or winter?
Sum up.
Okay, and the final question is things that you have discovered about yourself recently.
Ooh, oh, I love that question. Recently, what have I discovered about myself? There are no prizes for coping on your own. And what I'm learning, and it's not just I have to learn it over and over again. This seems to be so strong in me to be independent and to manage on my own, and that somehow that's better. That I have to learn this over and over again, that I have so much more fun when I work with other people. I am so much better supported, and therefore what the outcome, the what we create, what we co-create together is so much better when we do it together. Um, and I seem to be a bit I have to learn this one over and over again. I am getting better at reaching out for support and reaching out for help and recognizing that that's a strength actually rather than a weakness. So I'm really
Mm.
strong that I need other people. That's what I've learned really recently.
Oh, thank you for playing. This was amazing. Great conversation. Thank you for playing. Thank you for being on our podcast today, Kim, for sharing your passion and your wisdom. Please let us know how we can, our listeners, how we can find the book, where we can find your book. Is it on?
So I know it is for sale in the States and in England, on Amazon.
Okay.
It's in good bookshops. But this has been a real pleasure. Thank you, Elle.
Thank you so much, Kim. This has been Empowered Women, Global Women in Business podcast, and we'll see you all very soon.